welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Kyla, and in this video I have my September wrap up for you, but with a twist. This month I decided I wanted to try something a little bit different. So instead of me sitting down here going through all of the books that I read, I actually kind of did it vlog style throughout the month. So I did weekly wrap-ups at the end of each week, or kind of at the end of each week, and let you know what I read that week, what I thought of them. So you're kind of getting my thoughts in real time. And then at the end, I'll do like a total wrap-up and let you know if any of my thoughts have changed, if any of my ratings have changed now that I had the time to sit with the books. I don't know, I just thought it would be fun to do something a little bit different. Also, sitting down and filming these wrap-ups takes so much time and so much brain power to remember what I read throughout the month and also like what I thought of them, because I do read quite a few books and sometimes the details get a little fuzzy as the month goes on. So I thought it would be fun, try something different, do it a little vlog style. You guys will have to let me know what you think of this format. And yeah, before we get started, let me just tell you what I kind of read this month. So I did read 13 books. I did have 2 DNFs, and then I read 11 books. I read everything from fantasy to horror to thriller, and I did have 2 of my most anticipated reads of the year in this month, so that was very exciting. And I also found a new all-time favorite, so it was a definitely roller coaster of a month. I definitely had some misses as well, but yeah, let's just throw it back to a month ago with different hair, because I did get my hair done this month, and kick off the beginning of September. Hello, it is currently Monday, September 4th. I have finished 2 books, so I am here with my first little update wrap up of the month for you. The first one that I finished was Other Birds by Sarah Addison Allen. I am so happy I finally got to this because it has been on my physical TBR shelf for a year. This is a September 2022 book of the month pick. So it was time, and I'm giving this 3 stars. It was cute. It was fun. It wasn't anything that I'm going to remember or anything groundbreaking. I did really love the found family in here. In this one, we are following Zoe, and Zoe has come to this island to claim her mother's apartment. Her mother has passed away, so she has come to kind of claim the apartment, decide what she wants to do with it. Is she gonna sell it? Is she gonna live there? What is she going to do? And this island is actually kind of famously known. It has a book written about it, so that kind of adds like an element to it. And this apartment building is interesting because there are literally birds everywhere, and it's one of those apartment buildings where everyone in the apartment building kind of has their own story going on and like their own really strong like personality, and they all kind of keep to themselves for the most part, but Zoe kind of draws them out and brings them together in a certain way. There's also, one of the first nights that Zoe's there, a little crime that is committed where all of the neighbors are kind of drawn out, so they're all also kind of bonding over that. So we have the found family kind of trope showing up in this apartment building where they all kind of come together and help each other in different ways, or help heal each other in different ways, which is fun. It was cute, it was interesting, the writing was good, but this overall story just wasn't something that's going to stick with me. I didn't really feel drawn to any particular characters in general, and the plot was just like overall okay. I feel like I've kind of read stories like this before, so nothing of it was really like gut-wrenching or heartfelt that really like got me in my bones, if you know what I mean. So overall, like, I had a good time. I'm happy that I read it, but overall it was just a 3-star for me. And then I also read Bad Blood by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and technically I also read 12 by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is book 4 in the Natural series, and there's a little novella at the end, so book 4.5, if you will. And oh my god, this ending, first of all, let me say, I don't know how much of an inspiration the show Criminal Minds has actually had on this series. Like, I don't know how much of that show Jennifer Lynn Barnes has watched, if she took inspiration from that show or not. But what I will say is that as a diehard fan of that show, and I mean diehard, okay? Like even planning a tattoo off of it one day. I found myself really recognizing different episodes and different elements that I could like compare it to, or just like see where she was drawing inspiration from. Now, was she actually doing that? I'm not sure. But there were certain aspects and certain things that happened in the plot in this book where I was like, oh my god, this reminds me of this episode. Oh my god, that reminds me of this episode. Oh my god, that reminds me of this like arching plot line that happens throughout the show. Like, so much of it, I was like, oh my god, I see that, I see that, I see that. Was that intentional? I do not know. But I have to imagine so, because in the novella, she makes a very specific reference, a very specific name, very specific nickname, and I just have to imagine that she pulled that from the show and was like, how can I incorporate that somehow? I could be wrong, but that's just how I feel. Anyways, overall, I have to keep this very vague, obviously, because I don't want to ruin the rest of the series for anyone who has not read it yet. This was 5 out of 5 stars. I loved the ending. Am I partial because I just am so obsessed with this series? Yes. Like, is this the most groundbreaking series you've ever read in your life? No, but for me, being like the uber Criminal Minds fan that I am, this series is everything, and I am fully obsessed with it, and I will shout it from the rooftops because I want more people who are Criminal Minds fans to read it. If you are not, and you don't care anything about FBI profiling or anything like that, you are going to be bored to tears. But if you find that interesting, entertaining, whatever, in any sort of way, you will enjoy this. I love where this went. This was heartbreaking. This was plot twisty. There was an element to this that I did not see coming. I should have, but I didn't because I was just fully engrossed in having so much fun. And this is like found family in itself. And that's one thing that I really love about Criminal Minds, is like how much of a family they are. And like in this book too, like such found family. And that like I love found family trope. It is literally probably my top tier like favorite trope in any sort of book. I love it. I love seeing characters and different people from different walks of life like come together and just like find that solace in each other, especially maybe when their own family life isn't like the greatest. There's just something about that that's like very healing. So I loved it. I love where this went. Like I said, I have to keep it very vague because I don't want to spoil anything, but like I'm here for the ending. I also loved how many loose ends we got tied up in here. Like, she really didn't leave any sort of character, like, unwanted or, like, by the wayside. Like, you weren't like, well, why did we get that one character introduced for nothing to happen? Literally, it all kind of wrapped up in a nice little bow. Will some people unappreciate that? Maybe, but, like, I love it, especially when we have books that are so, like, about, like, puzzles coming together and pieces coming together. Like, you want everything to wrap up nicely, and that's what this did. The novella, I think, was kind of pointless. If I had to separate them, I would say the novella was 3 stars, where the overall, like, last book, book 4, is 5 stars. The novella, I just feel like wasn't really necessary. It didn't really add anything to the story for me. It was just kind of fun to see where they were now, but, like, I didn't really need it. I could have just sat with what happened in book 4 and been totally happy. So unnecessary. I would give that a 3 overall, but I did love the last book so It has been the week of messy buns because it has been hot, humid, and rainy. My hair just does wild things. Anyways, it is currently Sunday, September 10th, and I am here with another weekly reading update. I finished 3 books this week, so I wanted to give you a little update on each of them, let you know my thoughts, rating, and all of the above, and let's just go ahead and start with like my most anticipated book. Y'all already know, it's Foxglove by Adeline Grace. I could not wait any longer to read this. I genuinely was so beyond excited and just like, I needed to know. I needed to know what was going to happen. I needed to continue in the story, and I am so happy that I did. It was not quite the 5 stars that Belladonna was. I think I'm landing on a 4-star for this one. I really loved the introduction of fate in this book. He just added this like mysterious twist to this overarching plot that we got from the first one that I just loved. I didn't necessarily love his character, although like I kind of did. He's a villain, but like, I don't know, you just sometimes can't help but feel for him, but he's also like the villain, so like, you know, hate to love him. But I just love the dynamic that he brought into the story and kind of rocked everyone's world. I also love how much of a badass Blythe was in this book. You know, in the first one, I mean, she was still a badass in that sense. Like, in the first one, she was fighting for her life. Like, literally, she was so sick, down for the count, like, bedridden. So, like, she was still badass in, like, the sense of fighting for her life. But in this one, she is, like, girl, she's got tuned. Blythe is back, she's ready to party, and she also is ready to like fuck some shit up, and I just love that about her. Oh my god, I had such a blast reading from her perspective, which I love that Adeline did in this book. The different perspectives definitely drove this plot forward and definitely kept me engaged the entire time, because I love when we get multiple point of views, and like, it was just so good. It was so good. I will say I wasn't as invested in the overall mystery that was happening in this one, which is why it was just a 4-star as opposed to the 5-star. With Belladonna and that being a 5-star, the mystery had me gripped. I needed to know what was going to happen. In this one, I was more invested in like the second plot line, first or second plot line, than I was the mystery that was happening. I was still invested, but I didn't like feel it with my whole being like I did the first one. So overall, 4 stars. I can't really talk much more about this book without spoiling anything that happens in Belladonna, so I'm just going to leave it at that. It was a great sequel, and I cannot wait for the 3rd one. I know, I have another year. It's fine, but I just love that it's going to be called Wisteria, and I cannot wait to see the cover. These are some of the most gorgeous covers I have ever seen, so I'm stoked. I'm stoked. And the next book that I read this week was The Return by Rachel Harrison. I've been wanting to read more of her backlist. I do plan on reading Cackle in October, and I would love to read her new one like as soon as possible as well, but I had heard good things about this one, so I definitely wanted to check it out. And overall, I think I'm just gonna land on a 3-star for this one. I was gripped by the mystery that was happening and like the creepiness that was happening. So in this one, we are following a group of friends, and one of them has gone missing, and then she shows up 2 years later, 2 or 3 years later, not acting like herself, not acting like the person that they all know and love. Kind of like if like Allison from Pretty Little Liars came back and was acting like kind of possessed. Like, that's the vibe that's happening in this book, and then they all go away together to try to like rekindle their friendship and bring their friend group back together, because they all live all over the place. But now that she's back, they're like, oh my you need to get together and, you know, have a good time. So they meet at this hotel for a girls' weekend and some things start happening. And like, I did enjoy where this went. You've read of Rachel Harrison before, you know she's like not afraid to go there and take risks. So overall, like, I really did enjoy where this went. I think it just started to lose me a little bit in the end there, and it felt so repetitive. So repetitive, like the same things were happening all the time, and all of the friends were talking about the same things over and over and over again, like how she was acting and what was going on, and isn't that weird? And then you would get it from another perspective, was like, oh my god, that's so weird that that's happening, and like, I can't believe she did this, and blah blah blah. Like, it just felt like it was going in circles for way too long, and then the ending, like the big climax ending, only was like 25 pages or so, and I was like, wow, that was just a whole hullabaloo of just talking in circles for most of this book. So I would say the first like quarter of it really gripped me, and then that middle bit kind of lost me, and then the last quarter like had me again, and I was interested enough to like see where it went, but it wasn't my overall like favorite ending from hers, and I don't know, just something about it just fell overall a little bit flat for me, so just a 3-star on this one. And then the last book that I read this week was Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I have been wanting to read this since it came out, which I know is only like a few months ago, but it has been getting such rave reviews that I was having the most FOMO over not reading it, so I wanted to read it as soon as possible. This is like a literary suspense slash thriller. Thriller is like a loose term. I would definitely consider it more of a literary suspense with like a lot of social commentary, which I really enjoy. I love when thrillers or suspense novels can really bring in a conversation. And in this one, we are following 2 authors. We have June and Athena, and they are supposed to be kind of like these rising star authors together. They both went to the same school. They're both kind of on the same path or so, but Athena is like pulling very much ahead. They both have published books, but Athena's kind of took off where June's didn't necessarily, and June's feeling a little bit jelly about it, but like she's still trying to be that like subtle supportive friend while also simultaneously like thinking all of these horrible thoughts in her head and like being overly jealous. One night they are hanging out and Athena dies. June goes into Athena's study, and maybe a manuscript is sitting on her desk, and maybe she takes it and maybe she publishes it as her own work. But here's the kicker. June is white. Okay? She is full-fledged white female. And Athena is Asian American. So you have this white author who is publishing this Asian American story, and there's a lot of conversation in here or whether or not that's appropriate. Obviously about an author stealing another author's work, and then also just the Chinese culture in general, because the book is based on Chinese laborers in World War I. It's just, there's a lot of conversation happening in here. There's also a lot of unhinged female actions in here, and like a lot of unlikable characters as well, which like is the recipe for a good book. You have books about books, you have unhinged female characters, you have unlikable characters, and then you also add in like this whole level of social commentary. I'm here for it. This read so freaking fast. I was invested from the first chapter. I needed to know what was going to happen, and like being in June's head is so disturbing, but also so relevant these days. When I was done with this, I did go ahead and watch some videos from Asian American people who have read this book to kind of get their stance on it, because obviously I am a white female, so I'm going to have my own takeaways from it, and I did learn a lot, but I also wanted to hear from people in the Asian American community, and there were a lot of videos where they talked about this from a problematic standpoint and brought up some very good points. about the story itself and about R.F. Kuang writing this book that I thought were very interesting. So I would say if you're going to read this, definitely round out your experience with watching some of those videos. I will link some in the description for you because I do think it's important, especially if you are a member of the white community and like have no background or, you know, tie to the history that's going on in this book as well. I think it's important to educate as well. But like I said, overall, like I really enjoyed it. I binged this book so fast. I really enjoyed the audiobook as well. And I did have some really good takeaways. So I overall am gonna give it a 4-star, but I do recognize after watching those videos the problematic issues that could arise from this book. So like, it's a loose 4-star. That was my gut, and that's what I'm going with. Hello! I think the last update that I gave you was on September 10th. You guys, it is currently September 20th. Yeah, it's been a hot minute, but some shit has happened this month that was very unexpected. I actually had to have an unexpected surgery, so I was literally down for the count for a week, so I didn't read as much as I wanted to. I thought I was going to. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna get so much reading done while I'm recovering. Not the case, because I ended up getting really sick. It's just a whole thing. I'm feeling so much better now, if you couldn't tell. I feel so much more like myself. I'm still recovering, but like, I feel like me. Anyways, you're not here for that kind of update. Maybe you are. If you are, bless you, and thank you all for the well wishes. I'm here to give you a reading update for the things that I did read over the past 10 days. Do I wish it was more? Yes. There's also been a plot twist, so let's just go ahead and talk about it. So, the first one that I'm going to talk about, I actually started while I was in the hospital. I was like, I'm forever going to remember this now. And that is The Brothers Hawthorne by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is, I wouldn't say next in the Inheritance Games series, but like part of that world. In this one, we are following Jameson and Grayson, and it's from their point of views, where the Inheritance Game series was strictly from Avery's point of view. Like, we got them, obviously, we got the brothers and like their input and like what they were doing and that kind of thing, but this one is actually from their perspective, which I was so excited about going into it, because I just feel like that's what we needed. That was what was missing from the Inheritance Game series. What I will say though, I'm landing on a 3-star for this because it was just okay. And it was actually very surprising because now I'm like, was that missing? Like, if I went back and reread the Inheritance Game series, would I feel the same way? I don't think so. Now I'm like, I like that series even more than I already did when I love that series. But like, I don't need from the brothers' point of view. Was it fun? Yes. So we're following Grayson and Jameson. Grayson is on one path. He is like on one sort of like puzzle, shall we say, trying to figure something out. And I really can't go into detail without ruining some of the things that happen in the Inheritance Game series. So I'm going to keep this very vague. And then we're following Jameson as he is on another puzzle, shall we say, another adventure, and trying to figure out something and going on an adventure. And what I will say is that I really wish it wasn't just them two. I really wish we got Nash, and I really wish we got Xander. Xander is my favorite brother. He is just so funny. He's hilarious. He always is like the life of the party. Just the light that you need that in the like, they're also dark and broody, and he is the light, and he is just so funny. He is in here a little bit, and those parts were like some of my favorite, but I just wish we got more of them. So maybe in the next one, because plot twist, there is going to be a next one. Will I pick it up? Yeah, I will. I will, because I'm sucked into this series. But this one was just okay. Quick chapters, as we're used to from the series. What was going on with them was interesting. I really like the addition of the characters, especially on Grayson's side. We got introduced to a new character called Gigi, and I won't share how she comes into play, but Gigi is hilarious. She, I feel like, and Xander would be like best friends. So we have that going on, and then we have Jameson, and he is like off on another world, basically, in this like competition kind of thing. And so we have like them kind of separate, but then they do come back together for something. Wow, how much more vague can I keep it? I feel like I just need to stop talking about it. It was okay. 3 stars. I feel like the puzzles weren't anything that like had me gripped really. Overall, my favorite part of this was actually like the extra chapter that she put in the end, and I don't even know if that's in every book or just this Barnes & Noble edition, but there's an extra chapter at the end where we follow them throughout a party, which I don't want to ruin what the party was for, but it was hilarious, and like that was my favorite part of the book. So it wasn't even like part of the book, it was like the extra chapter. So all in all, I still had fun. I still love being in this world, but it wasn't as good as any of the other Inheritance Games books. And then you guys, I feel like I'm gonna get so much hate for this, but I just have to say my truth, okay? I DNF'd Six of Crows. I tried, okay? I gave this the biggest shot possible. I made it up to the second part, which ends, I should say, on page 181. So almost 200 pages into this, okay? That's a fair shot, all right? That is a fair shot. I was still so bored. So bored. I did not care about anything that was happening. I just really think that me and Leigh Bardugo, something about her writing just irks me. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the characters, but like I've tried Shadow and Bone, I tried Ninth House. There's just something about her writing that just does not sit within me. It's like instantly I just want to glaze over and just not even be in this world or like with these people at all. I know people love this, okay? I get it. I understand. If someone read a book that like I loved and hated it, I would feel the same way you do right now. But I just have to be honest. Me and Leigh Bardugo, we're breaking up, okay? I'm just done. We're done. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There are plenty of other books and authors in the world. She is just not for me, and like that's okay. So, yeah, we're just done, okay? We're just done. We're gonna move on. So seemingly, it would seem that I had a really crappy reading week. However, we will end it on a high because I read Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, and this was 5 stars. Instantly. Like this fantasy I was immediately gripped by. The writing is gorgeous. The characters suck you in. The plot immediately grabs you. There is, oh my god, so many things inside of this book that I love. I did a full vlog on it, so if you want to hear me really like gush about it in detail, I will link it in the cards as well as below, because I definitely ramble on in that vlog about why I love this book and everything about it. But the writing is gorgeous. You can't get around that. It's absolutely stunning. You cannot help but fall in love with these characters and like what they're going through. And like in a nutshell, very quickly, we are following 2 journalists. They are both competing for a spot at the paper. They are like rivals, and then there's this war of gods going on, and they end up going off and trying to be correspondents for the war, and things happen and whatever. It is a romantasy, so you can imagine where this goes. It gives major You've Got Mail vibes, because we have letters being sent back and forth where we don't know who's on the other end of the letters. It's perfection. Everything about this book is perfect. I have nothing bad to say about it. There's no flaws. There's no flaws in this book at all. I loved it. I loved the chemistry between Roman and Iris. they will stay with me for so long. I just love these characters so much. So instant 5 stars. Like, I knew within the first 100 pages that this was gonna be 5 stars. And unless it like went off the rails, which I wasn't expecting to happen because everyone is raving about this book right now, or was raving about it. But like, yeah, no, it hooked me in, instant 5 stars. I freaking love it. This so far is like my favorite book of the month that I've read so far. So seemingly an interesting reading week. I'm so scared and nervous and excited to see what happens next. Hello, hello. It is currently Friday, September 29th, and I'm here to give you my final reading update of the month. As you saw, I did get my hair done. So, I mean, you would have seen it at the beginning of the video, but like, it's real, it's happened, and I'm so happy with it. Also, this past week was the Upside Down Readathon, which is a readathon put on by 4 incredible hosts. We have Kendall from Bookphoria, which I'm pretty sure she's the one that's like created this readathon. And then we had Liv from Liv's Library, Jordan from Sorry Book Solid, and Naomi from Naomi's Library, and it was so fun. I wanted to participate last year. I didn't get the chance, so this year I wanted to make sure that I did, and it was a blast. I had such a fun time. The prompts were amazing. I do have a whole vlog dedicated to it. If it's not up already, it is coming soon, so stay tuned, and if it is up already, I will link it in the description. I'm just not sure which video is going first at this current moment. And anyways, it was a blast. So I have pretty much a reading recap from that readathon. I did have one DNF. It was at the Coffee Shop of Curiosities by Heather Weber. It was not a DNF because it was bad. I had just read a book from her last month called Midnight at the Blackbird Cafe, and this was pretty much like a carbon copy, just done in like a different way. It was a magical realism. Both of them, they have very similar plot lines, so I felt like I was reading the same book kind of back to back. So I just decided to put it down for now, give it some time in between, and then I might pick it back up again, depending upon how I feel. But it's not because it was terrible or I didn't like it or whatever. It was just like, I feel like I've already read this right now, and it was losing my interest because of that. Not because it was bad, but just because I felt like I was in like a repeat mode. So we DNF'd that, and then I listened to You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight, which is a YA horror. This is kind of like more of a slasher, which is not typically my jam, but I've seen it going around and it fit one of the prompts, and it was a really short audiobook, so I was excited still to check it out. This one is about a camp. It's kind of like a horror experience camp where you go around and the people who work there are meant to like scare the guests. But of course, as you can imagine, things go awry during this particular summer, and things take a turn, and it doesn't really turn out the way that it's supposed to, where people actually start dying at the camp. You know, it's supposed to be like a haunted experience, and it's just supposed to like look that way, where actually this summer people are dying. And this one I gave 3 stars. I just thought it was okay. I'm teetering on like a 2.5, but I'm just gonna call it a 3. It was okay. I felt like, one, slashers aren't really my thing, so I feel like it was already kind of at a disadvantage there. It was a really easy read and a really easy listen, so I would recommend checking out the audio if you do plan on checking this one out. Like, pun intended, I just felt like this was a little campy for me. It was just a little bit over the top. There were some things that, like, obviously a horror doesn't have to be believable, but there were some things that I really just like rolled my eyes at, and I wasn't sure if the author was intentionally doing so. There were some questions like in my head about how things would actually happen in like the name of privilege, of like having a white experience versus a person of color experience. And again, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it was just very confusing to me, and I just didn't really know how to take it. So that kind of like dampened my reading experience. And then also I read The Honeys by Ryan LaSala a few months ago, which is also a camp horror. And while they're vastly different stories and different plot lines, weirdly they like have almost the same kind of trope happening at the end, so I felt like I had read it before, so it just felt very repetitive to me. I don't know, it was just overall okay. I didn't really like where it went. I didn't really like where The Honeys went either. It just really wasn't my thing. But where I had read that before and then I read this one, it just left a bad taste in my mouth. I didn't really enjoy it that much. I also wasn't like super invested in any of the characters or anything like that. There is a little bit of like a romance happening, but even at that I was like, I don't really care that much, or I'm not really invested in any of these characters that much. So like even that wasn't really hooking me in. So anyways, 2.5. A generous 3, but like really a 2.5. So you might be thinking that the readathon didn't go well for me, but it actually did, because the last 2 books that I read for the readathon were both 4 stars, so we ended on a good note. So the first one is City of Ghosts by V.E. Schwab, or Victoria Schwab in this case. This is a middle grade series that she has, and I loved this. I thought it was just so fun, so cute, super spooky, but like in a middle grade kind of way, obviously. In this one, we are following Cassidy, and she has to move to Edinburgh with her parents. Her parents are kind of in the like a ghost hunter realm, and they get this TV show that they're going to be traveling all around the world and checking out the most haunted places. Their first stop is Edinburgh, which is like super cool. The setting and the atmosphere in this book is like literally on point, especially for this time of year. I loved it. It is one of those places that I've like is top of my bucket list of like where I want to go. I want to go there so bad. But like the descriptions in here made me feel like I was in it, so it definitely made up for it a little bit. And then Cassidy, she had this experience where she almost died. This is not a spoiler, by the way. And she was pulled out by this boy. Turns out he's actually a ghost. So this ghost just like hangs out with her all the time and is basically her BFF, and they go on this adventure and this move together. So they're going through this experience together, and their dynamic and their friendship is truly the cutest, most softest thing ever. I love them so much. I definitely want to read more in the series. I think just it's the perfect spooky middle grade. So I had a great time while reading this. And then one of the things of the readathon was to pick a buddy read. Each 4 hosts picked 4 different books which you could read alongside with them if you so choose. And I chose to go with Liv's pick, which was Whispering Pines. This is by Heidi Lang and Katie Bartowski, and this was also 4 stars. This is a Stranger Things-esque, like spooky middle grade, and it definitely delivered on that theme. So it was perfect for the readathon, being the upside down readathon, and it themed after Stranger Things. This was perfect. It definitely gives Stranger Things vibes, and this one like sucks you in from the very beginning. I was hooked immediately and wanted to know what was going to happen. And this one we are following Ray, and her dad has gone missing, but everyone thinks that he's actually murdered. Besides Ray, no one really believes her. And then years later, after the fact, they move to this town called Whispering Pines, which has this history. They don't know that moving there, but once they get there, they realize it's kind of eerie. There's something else going on, and there's all of these kids that have gone missing without any sort of explanation. So you're following like this creepy town, which like obviously sounds very Stranger Things-esque. We also have this kind of a group of misfit kids like brought together. We have like the popular kids brought together with like the nerds to figure out the mystery going on in here. So that was very much Stranger Things-esque. And then the ending is like on point. I'm not even gonna say anything else, but I'm just gonna say it was on point. I loved it. I love the writing in here. This one was also extremely atmospheric. It takes place in Connecticut in the fall, so like you have those autumn New England vibes, and they were definitely there. The descriptions in here perfect. And also you could just like feel the creepiness of this town coming off the page, which I really enjoyed. I don't know if I said this already, but this is also a middle grade, but it didn't read like super young. It did at points, but not to the fact to like turn me off of it. Same thing with this one. Like you can tell they're young, but it's still readable as an adult. There's still that readability there. They weren't annoying or anything like that. I just enjoyed reading from their perspective. And I also love the dynamic between Ray and Caden in here. I just think they have a really interesting relationship, but also just like watching her in her new town, trying to make friends, and like, especially after her past and dealing with all of that, was just so interesting, and I was fully invested. This is also the start of a series. There is a second one out right now, I believe. I don't know if there's a third one already, or if it's just a duology, what have you. I definitely will be continuing in this as well, because it leaves you on a bit of a cliffhanger, like enough to be wrapped up, but the epilogue leaves you on a bit of a hook, and I'm intrigued and want to know what's going to happen, so I'm gonna continue. So yeah, happily ended with 2 4 stars, which is like everything you could ever hope and want in the world. That wrapped up my week of reading, and that wraps up my reading for the month. And that is it for my September wrap up. Before we go, let's just chat through and see if my thoughts have changed on any of the ratings. And honestly, I don't think they have. I'm pretty sure I still stand behind my thoughts and feelings. Yeah, looking at my list, I don't think I'm gonna change my rating on anything. My thoughts and feelings are still the same. I know you guys can come for me for the 6 of Crows thing, but like, everyone has their own taste, okay? And like, I just have a very specific taste in fantasy, I guess. Not even really, I don't know, but it's just not for me, okay? Not for me. But like, I did find a new all-time fave, or at least all-time fave of the year in Divine Rivals, and I'm so happy about that. I'm also so gutted that I am now finished with the Natural series. Like, I need more of it. I am truly devastated that I read it so quickly and that I'm done with it. So if you haven't checked out that series and you like Criminal Minds, you like A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, you liked the Inheritance Game series, that one is for you, and please like check it out. I'm literally obsessed with it, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself until the next book in the Divine Rivals series comes out. Like, I don't know. What am I supposed to do for the next 2 months? I'm just gonna sit and stew about that book a little bit longer, be in the feels, because I truly loved it that much. But yeah, that is all that I read this month. Please let me know what you thought of this format in the comments. I just thought it would be something fun and a little bit different, and also just a little bit more entertaining than me just like sitting here talking about everything. So definitely let me know. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe if you are not already. Turn on the bell so you never miss a video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!
Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright.